So now that we've talked about absolute advantage and comparative advantage, we're prepared to talk about kind of the motivating factor for this entire discussion, which is the terms of trade, or also what is called Ricardian trade theory. So this is named after an economist named David Ricardo, and he obviously spent a significant amount of time thinking about why do nations trade. And so what he came up with is that nations will trade as long as one nation has a comparative advantage over another. And they will trade at a price, in between their opportunity costs. And I'm just going to write OC. So that sounds a little bit abstract in words, but when we get down to this example, I think you'll see it really, really quickly. So in the US, we have that one wheat. We can produce one wheat for, we have to sacrifice half a unit of coal. But in Canada, to produce 1 unit of wheat, they have to sacrifice 3 units of coal. So who has the comparative advantage in the production of wheat? And we already said that's why the US has this big star down here. We already said that the USA has the comparative advantage, and so I'm just going to write CA with an arrow down to the USA, that the USA has the comparative advantage in the production of wheat because it's cheaper. 1/2 is less than 3. So the USA then will export wheat, so it has the comparative advantage, which means that it will export wheat to Canada. And the price that it will pay, Ricardo's theory doesn't let us determine the exact price, but the price of wheat will be, I'm just going to write it like this. It will be greater than 1/2, and it will be less than 3. So it will be in between the price that the US has, and sorry, these are both units of coal. So units of coal. And we can say the same for this over here. Actually, you know what, that arrow is really misleading. So we'll just get rid of that and we'll just write coal in really small there. So the US will be willing to trade wheat away as long as it can get a better deal than the way that it can manipulate its own economy. So in the US, we can just, anytime we want, we can just snap our fingers and say, you know what, we'll sacrifice 1 unit of wheat and we'll produce a 1/2 unit of coal. But what's even better than sacrificing that 1 unit of wheat is if we can make that 1 unit of wheat, trade it to Canada for like a whole unit of coal, because that's more than we could ever do on our own. That's better than we could ever do on our own. So the price of wheat, and actually I want to go the other way also. So in Canada, they can snap their fingers and manipulate their own economy so that they can sacrifice 3 units of coal to produce 1 unit of wheat. But what's even better for Canada is if they produce that 3 units of coal and then trade some of that coal away for wheat. So if they only have to trade 2 units of coal for 1 unit of wheat, that's better than they could do internally. So as long as the price of wheat is somewhere in between a 1/2 unit of coal and 3 units of coal, both nations are better off. And so I didn't finish writing up here, the US will export wheat because it has the comparative advantage. And then the kicker, kind of the whole big thing, is that both nations will be better off. And in the next video, I'll go into that a little bit more. So then, now let's talk about the market for coal. So as you can guess, the Canadians have the advantage in the market of coal, or in the production of coal, excuse me. So this is, in Canada, they can produce 1 unit of coal or 1/3 a unit of wheat. That's just copying this right here. And in the US, do a different color, we can produce 1 unit of coal for 2 units of wheat. So then the price of coal is going to be, actually I'm getting ahead of myself here, sorry. So Canada, they have the comparative advantage, and I just realized that comparative advantage abbreviates the same way as I'm abbreviating Canada. So I'll write out, you know what, I'm really squeezed for room, so just remember this is comparative advantage, not Canada. So the comparative advantage in coal. So they are going to export coal. And now the price of coal will be in between, it will be greater than a third a unit of wheat. And I'm doing the same mistake I did up top and not leaving myself enough room. A third a unit of wheat, and it will be less than 2 units of wheat. And here's the explanation for that. In the US, Canada is exporting coal, so the US is paying for the coal. So in the US, we can snap our fingers and sacrifice 1 unit of, or 2 units of wheat and get 1 unit of coal. So as long as we are paying less than 2 units of wheat, we'll be getting a better deal than what we could do on our own. On the other hand, in Canada, 1 unit of coal, they can snap their fingers and they have to sacrifice only a third a unit of wheat. Or sorry, they have to sacrifice a third a unit of wheat to produce another unit of coal. So as long as they can get more than a third a unit of wheat for their coal, they will go ahead and get rid of that coal because that's a way better deal than what they could do otherwise. So we've seen now that each nation will export the good that it has the comparative advantage in, and that they will trade at a price in between their opportunity costs, because this is just the opportunity cost of wheat for the US, this is the opportunity cost of wheat for Canada, and then this is the opportunity cost of coal for Canada, and this is the opportunity cost of coal for the USA. So the last thing is that I need to prove to you that both nations will be better off, and I'm going to go ahead and do that in the next video.